Hello students, in today's English class we'll discuss the remaining portion of the chapter Weathering the Storm in Ersama. So as we have already discussed in part 1 that a very dangerous cyclone hit Orissa in October 1999 which killed thousands of people living there and destroyed hundreds of villages. In the chapter, I was talking about a boy, a brave boy named Prashant. So, when Prashant reached his village, so everything had destroyed. What did he see? There was nothing. So he went to the Red Cross shelter to look for his family. So in the Red Cross shelter, there was a large crowd there. People had nothing to eat. They had survived on green coconuts only. Children were starving. So, when all this happened, Prashant was 19 years old at that time. So, as I already told you that he was a very brave boy, so he decided to lead his village in that situation. As the situation was very much critical in that tragedy, he decided to be the leader of his village, and he was determined to help the people of his area. So when the people were suffering all around, he was strongly determined to do something for them. He wanted to help the people. So for this, he organized a group of youth and elder people so that they could pressurize the merchant to give stocks of rice. Actually, the merchant had a very big stock of rice, but he was not ready to give the rice to the starving people. So he collected a group of people and they just asked the merchant to give rice to the starving people, and they were succeeded in their attempt. So for the first time in 4 days in that cyclone, people in the shelter were able to fill their bellies. They had eaten after so long. So what was the next task? What was their next activity? What was their next thing? How could they help the people of his village? So the next task was to make a team of youth volunteers to clean the shelter, as there was dirt all around, as so crowded people were living there. So they make a group and clean that shelter. And the next thing was to tend to the wounds of the injured people. The people who were injured during that cyclone, they tried to help them. So taking care of the injured people was also their task. So on the 5th day, a rescue helicopter came there and dropped few food parcels, but it didn't return back then. So what did they do? So Prashant and his team, they collected empty utensils and asked some of the children to lie on in the sand with the utensils on their stomach. You can see in the picture also how the 3 children, they are just lying with the empty stomachs on their head, so that the rescue team, they could have an idea that the people are hungry there. What did they do? So the rescue team, they got their message and started giving them food and other basic necessities. So what else did Prashant do to help the people of his village, of his community? So he gathered all the orphaned children. So the big tragedy, the most sufferers were the children who had lost their parents during that cyclone. So he gathered all the orphaned children and he made a polythene sheet shelter for them. And the women living in the shelter, they looked after those children, and the men were assigned the task to arrange food and other materials for them. So what happened after that? As the time passed, so what did he saw? What did Prashant see? he noticed that, he saw that women and children, especially those who had lost their families, the children, the orphan children, and the women who had also lost their children, the families, they were very sad. They were becoming deeper and deeper, deeply sad in their grief, in their pain. So, what did Prashant do? Prashant advised the women to work with an NGO. So, he advised the women to start working in food for the work program that had started by an NGO. So the women in that area, they became a part of that NGO and started working for herself. And for the orphan children, what did he do? He organized sports events and other activities. So at that time, after a few months, we can say that after 6 months, the situation was not so good, but still people were moving, coming out of their grief. So at that time, government also took the initiative and made institutions for the orphans and the widows. They tried to make separate institutions for the orphan children and widows. But what was Prashant's opinion? Prashant wanted to resettle the orphaned children and their community, in their community only. He wanted that the orphan children should live in their village, should live in their community only, so that in the orphaned institutions they won't feel alone. That's why he decided to do something for them, and he made the arrangements for them in the community only. So instead of worrying about the situation at that time, he became a masiha for the widows and the orphan children and helped them to come out of their grief, to come out of their misery and pain. So the lesson, what is the lesson we learn here, is that we should also be brave. So we should not worry about the situation, and instead of worrying about the situation, we should come ahead. And as Prashant did, he helped the people of his community, being the leader. When he saw that nobody else is doing, so he decided he will do that for them. He became the leader. So the same way, if any of the situation is there like this, so we should also come forward and help the people and help the needed people, especially as Prashant had the leadership qualities also. So for the others, like also he could also do मतलब कर सकता था वो, but he helped the people and didn't worry about the situation. I hope you understood, and we'll meet soon with the next chapter. Till then, take care. Bye bye.